The 2024 NFL Draft is finally here, and although we don't know officially who will play for the New Orleans Saints or who will be their rookie class for the 2024 year, I'm going to offer my best guess right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Christos Vogelin. As always, we're brought to you by Scott Fickner, Injury Lawyers, and by Crystal. So the Saints have 2 picks in the top 100. Not ideal, right? When you need a left tackle, a left guard, a right tackle. You can use another defensive tackle. You can use another edge rusher. You can use a safety. You can use a wide receiver. You can use a tight end. You can use another running back. Saints got a lot of holes. We understand that. I don't think that dwelling on it any longer than I already have for the last couple of months is going to fix it. It's not how it works. So how does it work? By making damn good picks in the NFL draft. And that's something the Saints have to do. We can't ignore that. We all understand that. So let's start off. Let's jump right into it. The Saints have pick number 14. And most of us expected to be an offensive lineman. Ryan Ramczyk could retire. James Hurst retired earlier this Wednesday. Left tackle, Trevor Penning. We don't know what's going on there. Pete is not on the roster at the moment. Maybe that changes, but as of now, he's not here. So the Saints need left tackle, left guard, right tackle. You got to go out there and you got to go get yourself an offensive lineman. And it's not going to be the flashiest pick. It is not going to be the one that wins fans over on Thursday night when the pick is made and Goodell announces who's playing for the Saints. That pick probably is not going to go over well with Saints fans because it's not flashy. It's not sexy. It is just your plain old offensive line pick. But goddamn, do the Saints need to take care of that and fix it. Because it doesn't matter if you like Derek Carr or you hate Derek Carr. It doesn't matter if you like this Saints running back room or you hate this Saints running back room. Nothing works. Nothing works if you don't have an offensive line. And I think this is the perfect draft class where we're talking about Joe Alt. We're talking about Fashanu. We're talking about Fuaga. We're talking about Latham. We're talking about Fatanu. We're talking about so many offensive linemen in this class that we think can make an impact. And the Saints have a needed offensive line. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's not decide to be a little cheeky here. If you're at pick 14 and there's one that you can get, go out and do it. And I'm going to say as of right now, my prediction would be that the Saints with the 14th pick go out there and get themselves Fuaga. Now, I think Fuaga, the reason I say that this is I don't know which one's going to go first between him and Fashanu. I think those are the two the Saints want. For this sake, and with the Saints needing versatility on this O-line, I'm going to say Fuaga because you could plug him at right tackle, play him at left guard, or wherever you need to. He is versatile enough. Now, I would like him to be a tackle, so we'll say Fuaga, but I would not be surprised if maybe it's Fashanu as well. But either way, offensive tackle, for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to say the Saints add Fuaga to their offensive line, and I think he's going to be an interesting fit in New Orleans. I think he would do a damn good job. I think this is a very intriguing prospect. I think he's well-polished. I know there's concerns about him facing speed on the outside, but we're going to have to see how this all works out. So that would be the pick for round 1. Interestingly enough, though, there is a run on offensive tackles expected to happen, which could lead to trades. And Daniel Jeremiah said this Wednesday that he expects a lot of trades to be made. There's going to be a lot of call-ups. Saints got to be one of those teams. And what I would say about the Saints is this. There is a very delicate line that you have to teeter on when it comes to making a trade. Trade too many assets, are you dooming yourself for 2025? Don't trade any assets. You sit at 14, and what happens if Alt's off the board, Fashanu's off the board, Fuaga's off the board, Latham's off the board? If you are in that scenario, and they're off the board, now one can argue a Dallas Turner could fall, a Brock Bowers could fall, and the people who want an exciting pick, that's your exciting pick. I think there's probably nothing more exciting than Bowers, but I think Dallas Turner is a very exciting pick. I think there's a top 10 prospect. You get him at 14, great value. But man, round 1 would finish, and you guys would sit there and go, well, who the hell's playing offensive line? And I would tell you, I have no fucking idea. So for this sake of the exercise, I'm not projecting any trades. That's why I'm going with Fuaga. But if there are a lot of trades, and there is a run on offensive linemen, just like in the past, we've seen run on quarterbacks, run on wide receivers. It's a run on offensive linemen. The Saints are going to be in the blender because there is a decision to make. Do you gamble and go for it, but you might give away future assets? Or do you gamble and stay at 14 and you don't know who's going to fall, if one's going to fall to you? It is 50-50, And the problem about a 50-50 thing like that is everyone's going to complain regardless of what you do. But if you're going to swing for the fences, if I'm the Saints, I want to be the team that makes the first pick at offensive tackle. That's all I would say. Like, if you're going to swing for it and have every single selection at your disposal. Don't swing for it and you're like the last one to get the seat at the table. Because, yeah, sure, you're sitting at the table. You got an offensive lineman. But was it the seat you wanted? Was it the offensive lineman you wanted? I don't know. So if you're going to swing for it, take a huge hack at it. But if not, then you might as well stay at 14. But it was worth me adding in here because there's a lot of talk right now about the offensive lineman in this class and needing to trade up. So, again, for the sake of it, we're going to say the Saints go out and get Fuaga at pick 14. That's their first rounder. That sets you up for round 2. And round 2, with the 45th pick, I think the Saints, they could double up on O-line, but I'm going to decide not to. I think the Saints are actually going to go with a more fun position. That position has to be pass catch.
I need to clear something up about New Orleans. While our culinary scene might be on fire, our food has never been about heat. It's always been about flavor. And this is how New Orleans does flavor. Are we clear? Crystal. How New Orleans does flavor.
By pick 45, if you're New Orleans and you're trying to add some offensive talent, I think a lot of people like this wide receiver room. I like it. I mean, I think Chris Olave is a wide receiver 1. I think Rashid Shaheed can take that next step. I think A.T. Perry showed a lot of promise at the end of the 2023 season. But you know what? That's a lot of I saw this. I like that. I think there's no guarantees. There's not a lot of guarantees in the NFL anyway. But I think one thing you can do to really make this offense better and walk away feeling pretty good is get a pass catcher, but more importantly, get a guy that has a different skill set to the men in the room already. I think the Saints got that finesse style technician in Olave. Great route runner, knows what he's supposed to do. I think Shaheed, he could take the top off of the defense. He's got that speed. He's obviously more than just that. He continues to get better each year. I understand that. And then you got A.T. Perry. This is a guy who towards the end of the year was playing well in the red zone, was making big plays, really stepped up. So you like what he brings to the table. Why not go out there and get a Keon Coleman from Florida State at pick 45, who I think at 6'3", bigger body. Not saying you use your Michael Thomas replacement per se, but if you're looking for a bigger bodied wideout like that, it can give you a more physical attribute and could also give you those yards after the catch that you're looking for. I think Keon Coleman would be a nice fit here. And I think the height's a big plus. Like if I was just focused on yards after the catch, Malachi Corley's the guy. Like Malachi Corley is the one that you look at and you get pretty intrigued by his skill set. And I understand it. Malachi Corley is a very interesting receiver. If the Saints walked away with him, he'd be pretty good. But I think there's a difference between 5'11" and 6'3". And I think for the Saints, if you're going for that bigger body wideout, Keon Coleman from Florida State, a guy who a year ago, probably in most future way too early mock drafts would be like a top 15 pick. At 45, I think he's pretty decent value. He is someone that the Saints have had on their radar. And I think he fits that Kubiak idea of having that guy who he can catch the ball over the middle of the field, make those tight contested catches, and maybe then some after that play. So I would say Keon Coleman, a name that I would throw out there, but I spoke to him last week, and I don't expect him to be there at 45, is Xavier Legette from South Carolina. When I talked to him, he was very adamant about the fact that if the Panthers are picking at 33 and Legette's still on the board, he's going to be the pick. Like, he's very adamant about that. He's met multiple times with the Panthers. He claims they've told him he's going to get drafted at 33. I asked him about playing there. He seems very excited about that possibility. So, yes, I think Xavier Legette will be fun as hell in New Orleans. And he fits that description, right? Physical, contested catches, really good at having that acceleration for a guy who is bigger. But I don't think he's going to be there at 45. Keon Coleman, I think, will. And for that reason, I'm going to say Keon Coleman is the pick for the New Orleans Saints. So, again, these are two positions that are of need. Wide receiver, offensive line. I don't think making those two picks saves the day. But Lord, do I think it gives you a different element and also gives you intriguing pieces for future years, right? This isn't just for the 2024 season. You take Fuaga or Fashanu at 14, they could be your left tackle or right tackle of the future. You take Keon Coleman, who knows? Maybe him with Shaheed, with Olave, with A.T. Perry, you got something cooking. That's why I like those picks. Now, I do want to throw this out there, and I know that I'm more on the negative side of the Saints spectrum when it comes to how you assess things. this draft for me, I think there needs to be a sense of urgency for if we don't get this right, particularly if we don't get this pick in the trenches right, jobs got to be at stake. Because I thought about it the other day. It's crazy that if you ask most Saints fans, what position do they need? A lot of them are going to say O-line. That's going to be the first one. And the second one, they might not say receiver. They might say defensive line. They might say edge rusher. And what baffles me is that in the last 5 years, you've drafted Marcus Davenport, you've drafted Peyton Turner, you've drafted Trevor Penning, you've drafted Ruiz, and we're still sitting here saying they got to go get an offensive lineman. They got to go get an edge rusher. I believe in investing assets in the trenches. I think you win in the trenches. And obviously it helps to have a damn great quarterback, but you need to be great in the trenches. But if you keep whiffing those picks, there's got to be consequences. I'm not a believer in just because you whiffed that offensive tackle on Trevor Penning, you stop taking offensive linemen. That's an asinine way of thinking. But if the same regime continues to whiff on first-round picks, shouldn't there be some change? Shouldn't there? So that's what I would say to kind of close this out. And I think that for pick 14, the Saints get an offensive tackle that's in that realm of being a really great prospect. I think it's worth celebrating. I think that's a really good thing for the Saints. And I'll be excited for that if that's what happens. But I have to sit here today and be honest and say that if this pick does not work out and they invest in the trenches again and it fails again, how are Saints fans supposed to invest in this team if they do not make any changes to the front office? So yeah, I'm going to finish this by saying, Mickey Loomis, don't fuck up, because this is it for the Saints. You cannot keep investing in the trenches and getting zero results out of it. It does not work. It does not fly. No one wants that. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I am very, very excited for this draft. Don't let that little rant kind of throw you off. I think that the Saints have a chance here to really help their O-line out in a draft class that has really talented offensive tackle. Like, this is stacked at offensive tackle, particularly top heavy, but really good. And I think they could get a guy who will be a difference maker day one. And that's all I'm really asking for. But I'm also asking for them to have a good pick at day two because, man, 45 is an important pick. 45 should be an impact player. We'll see if they do just that this Thursday and this Friday. Just want to remind you guys, obviously outside of subscribing to Buku Media's YouTube channel, which at this point you should. It's a must. What are you doing? Especially with the Pelicans in the playoffs right now. I want to let you guys know that we are going to have coverage of the NFL draft Thursday through Saturday. Here's kind of the breakdown. When the pick happens, we'll be here, especially me, for a little video to kind of break it down. But after, a couple minutes after that pick gets made, maybe 20, 25 minutes or so, we're going to have a live show. So if you want to get your thoughts off, maybe you thought it was the wrong pick, maybe you love the pick, you can get that off in the live show. Kind of similar to what we did during the regular season after every game. Same format Friday. We're going to have a video of the pick, so you get your breakdown of the pick, and then some. Best players available, draft needs remaining for the Saints, trades they may have made, trades they could make. We'll talk about all that in those live shows. So live show Friday, live show Thursday, and obviously Saturday. The Saints have a lot of day 3 picks. If they hold on to them, we'll discuss those as well. But that's going to wrap it up, guys, for this edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's see if the Saints can add a good player in the 2024 NFL Draft.